Chapter 641 Tuanzang's old nest has been taken over. Everyone, let's get started. For the development of the Tongshang port, make an agreement as soon as possible and leave it to the daimyo for review. I declare in advance that all standards must be strictly in accordance with my requirements. It is better to be short than to waste. If you let me know who is messing around, don't blame me, Shazhi, for turning her face and not recognizing anyone. The trade port area has already attracted the dissatisfaction of the country of water. If there are still people who mess up to intensify the conflict and disrupt the development plan, the long sword in Shazhi's hand will not recognize anyone. Yes. These consortium owners can't help but nod their heads, and their hearts can't help but sigh. The original careful thoughts have been temporarily suppressed. They have been working with Shazhi for a long time, and they are very aware of Shazhi's temper. To be honest, there is no word of kindness in his heart. Don't you see the Watanabe consortium that ranked in the top 10 in the country of fire 2 years ago? Just because of excessive greed and wanton looting of the people's money, was it investigated and dealt with quickly. Although it has nothing to do with Shazhi from beginning to end, who would think it has nothing to do with him? After all, half a month before the Watanabe consortium was investigated, Shazhi warned the person in power, but the person in power of the Watanabe consortium didn't listen. Now, Shazhi's position has risen again. How could they not listen to Shazhi's words? They don't want to become the next Watanabe consortium. Even the Sasaki Chamber of Commerce, who is very close to Shazhi, would not dare. Immediately, several people spent 2 days discussing the development plan. After another day of revisions, it was submitted to the daimyo for approval. After the daimyo made some minor adjustments, it was handed over to Shazhi to implement. And appointed Shazhi as the chief inspector, responsible for the development. 1 month later. Konoha Village, Meeting Room. Your Excellency Jiraiya, Your Excellency Hokage, just disbanding the root organization like this, Your Excellency Danzo has no opinion. Shazhi has just returned from the trade port area of the Land of Water. During this month, Shazhi has supervised their implementation of every important plan. Then, after leaving behind a few of his political confidants to supervise the details, he returned to Konoha. As soon as I got back to Konoha, I heard that the Danzo force was disbanded and most of the powers of the consultant position were stripped away, so I couldn't help being a little surprised. Can he have an opinion? After listening to Shazhi's words, Jiraiya Isho pushed a document in front of him. Seeing Shazhi's expression of surprise, there are not many such things. This is. Shazhi couldn't help looking at the information. And then, his eyes widened. I saw that the insidious activities of Danzo were recorded on it, including inciting the Uchiha Rebellion, human development experiments, etc. The more Shazhi looked, the more frightened she became, and the more she looked, the more she knew why Danzang didn't dare to resist. Hi, really hi. After Shazhi read it at a glance, she couldn't help but exclaimed in admiration. In the face of this information, Danzo would not dare to mess around even if he would quibble again. This is what we got through our investigation this month, and Danzo-sama naturally won't have any opinion. Zilai also has a faint gaze, not knowing what he is thinking. Surprise, since then, the development of Konoha will be much smoother. Shazhi was overjoyed and congratulated from the bottom of her heart. Konoha is fine. Danzo loves to do things. This sentence made him a little surprised. He could see that Shazhi's words were sincere, not a hypocritical compliment. Chapter 642 The Power is in Hand. Haha, you're joking. Jiraiya then smiled, and the smile contained a lot of things, complicated, relaxed, solemn, etc., which made people unable to understand his thoughts. But anyway, today's Konoha has indeed begun to become alive. At least, the half-rotten root of Danzo has been removed from Konoha, and it can also play its role as a root. Humph. At this moment, a cold snort came from the door behind Shazhi and the others. But seeing Danzo come over with a gloomy face, his face is quite bad. The whole person looks like he is 10 years older, and Muchi is so angry that it does not match the fierce Danzo in the past. Danzo-sama is here, let's start today's meeting. Seeing Danzo coming, Namikaze Minato immediately changed the topic. Then let's get started, today our theme is. Zilai also took over the conversation and opened the prelude to this meeting. The meeting lasted until the afternoon. The efficiency of the entire meeting is unprecedentedly high. Because there is almost no voice of opposition, even if there is, it will not cause too much waves. Namaifung Minato, Jiraiya, one has a novel and stable idea, and the other is stable and has a big picture view. The opinions they put forward are basically quite reasonable, even Shajirching can't fault it. Naturally, the three of them agreed, and they moved to Xiaochun, and it was useless for Danzo to disagree. Moreover, Xiaochun also agreed to go to bed, Danzang can't cry alone. He now deeply understands the feeling of aggrieved when Namikaze Minato was first in power. Unfortunately, now the feng shui turns. There are two focal points of this meeting. The first one, with the support of the daimyo, the Konoha army is developed and strengthened, so this means that a lot of guidance is needed to start teaching. Second, revise the management opinions of the Uchiha clan again, so that the Uchiha clan can better integrate into Konoha, let go of the past quarrels, and grow Konoha together. When he heard this opinion, Shajirching knew that his leisurely days were over. Sure enough, one of the guides on Jinan is him. Not only him, Kakashi, Matekai, and even Shajirching's three already famous students, Nobume Yasunori, all of them became the guide to Shangnan. Among them, there are two other individuals who attracted Shajirching's attention. Yawa. Shajirching glanced at Minato and said, I got a good talent. The other one is Uchiha Shisui of the Uchiha family. Shajirching was a little surprised that Uchiha Shisui never died. It's kind of interesting that it didn't die like in the original book. Seeing this, Shajirching couldn't help but have a guess in his heart, and silently probed out observation haki. Sure enough, just as Shajirching had guessed, there was no special fluctuation of Sharinian on Danzang's right eye. It seems that this eye has been returned to its original owner. Shajirching was very helpless about the fact that he wanted to become a guide. But under the serial persuasion of Jiraiya and Minato Namikaze, he could only accept it. Who made him work harder? If possible, Minato Namaifung and Jiraiya did not want Shajirching to be the guide. Because he can turn students into his subordinates as soon as he serves as a guide for Jonin. But there is no way, who can let the current Konoha be in vain, can't let go of any useful person. The matter is settled. Chapter 643 Konoha is crazy. And the Uchiha family is now stable. Those who have been released from prison one after another also understand the impossibility of resistance. Coupled with the current preferential policies of Konoha, they already feel quite satisfied. Therefore, except for a small number of unforgivable people who still refuse to wake up to accept reality. The loss of the Uchiha clan is not too heavy, at least half of the clan have been released. The family business is still there, but it will take a few years to develop. On this day, in Shajirching's roast meat shop, the three of Anmur and Nobumi looked at Shajirching with a sad look on their faces, and they looked so pitiful. Why, I started to panic when I became a guide for the first time. Shajirching naturally knew why they looked like this, took a sip of wine and said jokingly. Oh, Mr. Shajirching, don't make fun of us. Seeing that Shajirching, who was already 22, was still so playful, Fujino Ling couldn't help but said coquettishly. Yes, Mr. Shajirching, it's okay for us to receive training. Let's guide others to train. We are really blind and don't know where to start. Majoro also rubbed his hands, and looked at Shajirching in a bit of awe, but he was also anxious. Follow the steps I once instructed you to cultivate, and you're halfway done. The other half is that you communicate with your subordinates and understand the process. If you have done a good job in these two aspects, even if your students are not all excellent, they should all have a high standard. Shajirching said calmly, but all three of them scolded Isho. Then he looked at Shajirching and said, "It's easier said than done. Or, Teacher Shajirching will take us for a few days to familiarize us with the process." Shajirching glanced at them again and said, "This is what you want to say this time." The three of them were guessed, and they scratched their heads again and laughed shyly. Then, the three pairs of eyes looked at Shajirching expectantly at the same time, without blinking. "Okay, how can I not give face to my students, but only for 2 days? If you don't study hard, then I have no choice. We will definitely study hard and not lose face to Teacher Shajirching." Shajirching, who the three listened to, agreed, and immediately assured with great excitement. "Shajirching is on the move, be safe." The next day, I don't know who spread the news that Shajirching would lead the class to train 9 of Anmura's subordinates for 2 days, which caused an uproar in the village all of a sudden. My God, those 9 people are so lucky. I really want to be taught by Teacher Shajirching. Why wasn't I assigned to Teacher Shajirching's class? There are envious madness. This is a great opportunity, we must seize it and strive to get ahead, understand? This kind of opportunity is 1 in 1,000, you must do your best to learn, you know. There are also those who cherish them very much, and keep telling their children. As everyone knows, there are no students that Shajirching can't teach. The students he has taught are quite excellent, even if the talent is not high and the background is not good. Just like that, at the 7th training ground, a group of 12 people gathered in front of Shajirching. The 3 of Anmura Nobumi stood behind Shajirching, watching Shajirching's every move. Chapter 644 Fight the Bell. It's a pleasure to be your teacher. But that doesn't mean you can be happy. From today, you are a ninja. But if you are qualified as ninjas, you need to tell me with your own grades, understand? Shajirching's face is very serious, all eyes are lowered, no one dares to look at him. Yes. But even though these genin people were in a panic, they would not show their timidity in front of Shajirching, and responded in unison. Then, the first lesson of the school starts now. This lesson is to test your teamwork ability. I believe you already know what it is. Yes, it is to fight for the bell. Then, you must be very clear about the rules. Your 3 teachers and I each have 2 bells. The person who did not grab the bell in the end will be punished. If the performance is unqualified, all the staff will be unqualified, understand? Shajirching said very sternly again, but this time, there was one person who did not avoid his gaze, but just looked at him like this. Shajirching couldn't help but deepen his impression of him. Got it. Even though everyone was flustered, they were afraid that the person who didn't grab the bell was themselves, but they didn't want to show their timidity in front of Shajirching. Very good, I hope you can understand the real purpose of grabbing the bell. If you don't understand, then I think it's hard for you to learn from me. I will discuss with you for an hour. After an hour, your destiny will depend on your own consciousness. After Shajirching finished speaking, he left with his hands behind his back. Around the 7th training ground, there are ninjas. Among these people, there are Kakashi leading the team, and Konoha various ninjas. In fact, there are even graduate genin who came to watch Shajirching's training with their respective guides. Among them, Shajirching also saw Uchiha Shisui. After seeing that his eyes were still alive, he nodded towards him, his lips moved, and he said a few words to Shajirching. Shajirching immediately interpreted it, and the words were, "Thank you." The 3 of Anmura Nobuomi came over, and Majoro asked, "Is this way, Teacher Shajirching, to avoid the kind of thing I did back then?" Speaking of this matter, the 3 of them couldn't help being silent for a while. This matter is really out of time. Shajirching replied, "With this consideration in mind, those who don't understand cherish the ninja who are considerate and considerate of their companions are not a fully qualified ninja. But more, to cultivate their teamwork ability. It's better to understand now than to understand in blood later. Isn't it? Think about this matter as soon as possible, the better it will be for their future development. Well, it's true. On this point, the three of them have no opinion. Ray Fujino asked, however, what if they don't pass? Are they really going to be sent back to Konoha school? Anmura Nobumi and Ma Kuro also nodded, very curious. Of course, there is no trust. I gave them an hour to discuss. If they still can't understand my intention, then go back to study and further study, so as not to harm others. Shajur-Ching shrugged helplessly, but what she said was extremely cold, making her scalp tingling. Chapter 645, a task that cannot be done. The process of guidance is like this. If you need to be strict, you must be strict. If you need to relax, you should relax. Credit is the foundation, and means are assisted. You are all here, you should understand the importance of credit. All three nodded at the same time, indicating that they understood. Then, Shajur-Ching told them about some guidance training methods. It was indeed the first time for the three of Anmura's Nobuomi to have dark eyes. If they didn't tell them, they really didn't know where to start. There is a saying that everything is difficult at the beginning, but when the beginning is done well, the rest is easy. He believed that the three of Anmura Nobuomi could still do it. The observation guide, Junin, just watched the 12 people and divided them into 4 groups for discussion. Afterwards, it was considered as a large group to discuss together, brainstorming ideas, and the eyes could not help flashing different colors of enlightenment. Shajur-Ching's training method seems to be no different from theirs, but the actual implementation is different. Not only are the effects different, the effects don't seem to be exactly the same. And this scene made Shajur-Ching Vivi smile. Nobume Anmura knew that this was the expression that Shajur-Ching would only have when she was very satisfied. An hour soon passed. Shajur-Ching returned to the front of the 12 people, and then said to the 3 of Anmura Nobumi behind him, "Grab the bell and fight." When the 3 heard the words, they immediately appeared in front of their respective students, and then took out their respective bells. Go. With Shajur-Ching's order, the 4 groups immediately separated. The 3 students of Shajur-Ching rushed towards Shajur-Ching from different directions, and they all had a must-see in their eyes. Seeing this scene, Shajur-Ching nodded again. But that's not enough. Shajur-Ching's hands were like dragons, and he grabbed the 2 by their necks and threw them out. The remaining one went around behind him, put his foot on his ass, and kicked it out. If you want to get a bell, you still need to use your brains. My bell is not so easy to get. Shajur-Ching shook the bell at his waist and said with a hint of provocation. Hey, interesting. Hearing this, Shajur-Ching's 3 students all grinned isho, showing a strong interest. Then, the 3 of them rushed over again. Boom bang bang. But in 5 seconds, the 3 people flew out again. Come again. Shajur-Ching hooked at the 3 of them, and the provocation became even stronger. Come again. The 3 of them drank violently and rushed over again. Bang. 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 The 3 kept flying out, and then, under the provocation of Shajur-Ching, they continued to pounce. Persevere and keep going. But no matter how they used their tactics and how they cooperated perfectly, they were always separated from the bell on Shajur-Ching's waist. It's obviously there, but it's just not available. Many people think that Shajur-Ching is too strict, too harsh. He is clearly bullying people. With his strength, how could these 3 newly graduated genin be his opponents? They may never get the bell they want from Shajur-Ching. But Shajur-Ching didn't say stop, the 3 people didn't say it was unfair, and the rest were embarrassed to say anything. Do you want to admit defeat? Anyway, if you keep going, you won't be able to get the bell. Once again, the 3 of them were thrown out, Shajur-Ching said extremely coldly. Contempt, pride. Chapter 646, something called bondage. You won't admit defeat so easily. Teacher Shajur-Ching, don't underestimate others. But how could these 3 concede defeat? It's so hard to become Shajirqing's student, what a rare opportunity. Besides, until the end, who knows if it will work or not. Until the end, how does Mr. Shajirqing know that we can't do it? We are on, Mr. Shajirqing. The leader roared and rushed towards Shajirqing. Okay, ambitious. Shajirqing isho, full of satisfaction. Alas, how is it possible to succeed? If you think about it, you will fail again. If you want to win the bell from Shajirqing, it is impossible to think about it. Alas, what a waste of effort. The surrounding ninjas couldn't help sighing and said. It's not that they don't believe these people, but this kind of moth to the fire, they have seen it many times, and they are already numb. Teacher Shajirqing, do you really not give any chance at all? The battle here for Anmara Nobumi is over long ago. It's just that Shajirqing is not over, they don't know how to proceed next, so they have been watching Shajirqing's situation here. The Shajirqing that I saw turned sideways, a bell disappeared with a swoosh, and then stepped back, and the other bell disappeared. Then, he stepped back abruptly and said, okay, it's over, congratulations on finally grabbing the bell. Shajirqing announced the result. The two who grabbed the bell were naturally happy, while the one who didn't grab the bell looked sad and downcast. And the person who didn't grab the bell was exactly the one who once looked at Shajirqing. Then, according to the regulations, you will be punished if you fail to grab the bell, then I think you should all be ready, so let's start implementing it. Shajirqing glanced at the four genin who didn't grab the bell, and his face was full of icy expressions. Yes, the boy standing in front of Shajirqing, who had tried with Shajirqing, was just about to open his mouth to accept the punishment. Unexpectedly, his two companions suddenly said at the same time, Teacher Shajirqing, we are willing to bear the punishment for him, please forgive him and let him go. Having said that, the two bowed deeply and pleaded. Oh, you are willing to bear the punishment for him. Then you should think about it, in case you don't satisfy me, but you will be expelled by all the staff. Shajirqing's eyes suddenly became extremely cold, completely inhumane. The two of them looked at each other, then looked at Isho, with firm expressions in their expressions, we are sure. Without Kinosuke's cover, we would never get the bell. If we left him, we would rather start over again. Been here. Quote. This young man named Kinosuke heard this, and his eyes suddenly became wet. He never imagined that his two teammates would be willing to give up everything for him. Hey, we are a whole, we can't do it without you. One of them grinned Isho, quite free and easy. Yes, it's a big deal to come back for another year. Otherwise, I can't make it through. The other person also smiled, all indifferent. The surrounding ninjas listened to the words of the three of them, and their eyes could not help but flash with horror at the same time. In just an hour, the fetters were exercised, and Shajirqing was too terrifying. Obviously the way is similar to them. Chapter 647. You are all qualified. What about you? Do you want to learn from them too? Give up your future for those who didn't get the bell. Shajirqing looked at the other three teams again, and her eyes became even colder. Hearing this, the 9 people couldn't help but glance at each other, and they all saw the struggle in the others' eyes, and they were apprehensive. They clenched their fists nervously, and cold sweat broke out all of a sudden. The scene suddenly became quiet. The quiet atmosphere made them feel even more nervous, and their faces were flushed. Then, they gritted their teeth at the same time, as if making a decision, and drank out of breath, yes. Don't pay attention to our companions, we might as well start all over again. This sentence, like taking out all their strength, made them all slumped on the ground. But their expressions suddenly became extremely relaxed. After all, they no longer had any scruples. Now, it's up to Shajirqing's decision. Everyone can't help but look at Shajirqing and leave. He saw that his face was extremely gloomy, his eyes were as sharp as knives, and he swept over everyone, causing them to tremble. You guys are well. Shajirqing's voice that sounded like it came out of hell resounded in everyone's ears, causing them to suddenly show a look of dejection. Shajirqing is so angry, it seems that there is no drama. I decided. Shajirqing didn't seem to see the urgency on the faces of Anmura Nobuomi and the others, and her tone was solemn. You are all qualified. As soon as these words came out, everyone present was stunned for a moment, then they were all in disbelief, and then they shouted out in a carnival. Oh! Only by shouting wildly can they express the excitement and joy in their hearts. They hugged each other and comforted each other, but the tears couldn't be stopped, and they were peaceful. Looking at Shajirqing again, where is the cold look just now, with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and his face is full of satisfaction. This expression made everyone feel a deep sense of satisfaction. Shajirqing wouldn't show such an expression easily, so, obviously, Shajirqing was very satisfied with their performance just now. Everyone, Shajirqing spoke again, and everyone shut up at the same time and looked at him. Tonight, on the second floor of my shop, don't be late. Oh, long live teacher Shajirqing. Hearing this, everyone shouted happily again, and almost didn't rush up to throw Shajirqing. Then, I also hope that in the days to come, you will always remember this moment of your day, the meaning of companionship, and the bond between you. Shajirqing's eyes were kind and swept across the crowd, saying, Yes. Everyone shouted in unison seriously. Then let's go. Shajirqing gave an order. A group of 12 people looked at each other and walked out of the 7th training ground, shoulder to shoulder, and the relationship was quite close. It's really insightful. No wonder the students he taught are so united. A group of onlookers, the guidance of Shangren, looked at Shajirqing who was leaving, and they all knew it in their hearts. With such a strong bond, can we not unite? In Shajirqing's small shop. When Shajirqing changed his clothes and arrived here, Anmura Nobume and the other 12 had all arrived. Everyone's face is full of joy, anticipation, it can be said to be restless. Chapter 648 First Mission. It's no wonder they are like this. After all, they are people who have been approved by Shajirqing. There seem to be very few people who can do this. Looks like I'm the last to arrive again, ha ha ha, then don't hide it and enjoy the food. With Shajirqing's order, the banquet to reward his 5 internal organs began. In order to be afraid of being restrained by these people, the 3 of Yasun Nobuomi were specially called to another table next Monday. Otherwise, these 12 people would have been restrained enough in front of Anmura Nobuomi and the 3 of them. With this person in front of them again, they will probably be even more unable to let go. Calling Anmura Nobuomi and the other 3 over, Shajirqing naturally also has her own purpose. Well, you should have a preliminary idea for the next teaching. Shajirqing took a sip of the wine. After all, he is an adult now, and he can finally drink. Probably, but I still want to see how Shajirqing will train next. Let's see what else we need to improve. Nobume Anmura nodded, then looked at Shajirqing full of anticipation, and said slyly, I have already applied to Lord Hokage, and he agreed to extend your training period from 2 days to 7 days. Hearing the words of Anmura Nobuomi, Shajirqing couldn't help knocking her, and said angrily, even your teacher dares to calculate, it's time to fight. Nobuomi Anmura stuck out her tongue, very playful. Hey, I knew Mr. Shajirqing was the best. Hearing that Shajirqing did not reject Anmura Nobuomi, he was immediately excited. Can I refuse? It seems that there is no room for refusal, after all, but someone has already done it first. Shajirqing rolled her eyes at her. Anmura Nobuomi was really getting darker and darker. Nobuomi Yasunori just laughed. A banquet that lasted more than 2 hours. Before leaving, Shajirqing admonished, I'll give you a day off tomorrow to relax, and the day after tomorrow is the day you officially start training. You are about to usher in your own difficult years, so prepare yourself mentally. Hearing Shajirqing's words, Keijisuke and other 12 people couldn't help showing surprises. They heard another meaning from Shajirqing's words. Shajirqing will continue to serve as their guide to Shangnin. Don't be excited, it's only for a week. After a week, you still have to train with your own guides. Shajur cast a glance at the excited crowd, and said casually. But even so, it was enough to make them happy. Shajur teaching, every day is a day. It can be said that the more the better. On the third day, Kejisuk, who had rested for a day, appeared in front of Shajur, all full of energy and high fighting spirit. The face is full of pride. Without him, after learning that they would continue to be taught by Shajur for a week, I don't know how many people envy them. That's Shajur, and being able to be taught by him for so long is a huge profit. This is an E-level mission, looking for the wealth of Grandpa Shankei's family. It's only one day, so I'll leave it to you. Whether it can be done or not depends on your respective ability to cooperate. Shajur handed over a task to everyone and said, "Yes, we will definitely get the job done. It's the first time to perform a mission, but these people are very happy." Chapter 649 Konoha Signboard, Shajur. It's useless to talk about it, you have to prove it with actual actions, go ahead. Shajur glanced at them and said, "Yes." The 12 Kinosuke responded loudly and left happily. "It's so good, just like us 3 years ago, naive." Seeing these people leaving, Anmura Nobumi said with emotion. "Who would have thought that in 3 years, we will grow to such a degree? It's really a future that can't be bullied." Fujino Ling also sighed with a memory on her face. Regardless of the past and future, let's just fight for the day. Ma Kuro clenched his fists and said firmly. Hearing the emotions of his 3 students, Shajur couldn't deny it. Then, I took out a scroll, which was about the development of the Tongsheng port area. Although people are not in the country of water, the things that should be paid attention to, still have to be paid attention to. You can do it too. Of course, it is impossible for Anmura Nobumi to go to the 3 of them. Like Shajur, she supports being the shopkeeper and doesn't care about anything. They went to the mission location of the 12 Kinosuke people, and went to supervise and observe. According to Shajur teaching method in the past, when the team was in a bottleneck, he gave some guidance so that they could continue to fight. So far, it's doing pretty well, and these people are doing their best, but they will continue to do so in the future. If someone gives me bad things, I have to be sorry. Shajur spread out the scroll, took out the pen and started writing on the scroll. The Naruto building not far away. If it weren't for the lack of manpower, I really don't want him to become a guide to Jonin. The means of buying people's hearts are too powerful. Seeing Shajur sitting cross-legged under the shade of a tree and writing quietly, Jirai also said with envy on his face. Once, he once had such a life. Yeah, he already has his own will, and, with a high position and authority, we can't touch him. Namikaze Minato also sighed. He was both happy and worried about Shajur existence, but in general, the joy outweighed the worry. By now, Shajur had already become Konoha's signature. Without this signboard, Konoha would have been breached several times. Alas, let him go, as long as he hasn't threatened Konoha. Jirai also sighed like this. Shajur power made him despair for a while. In this world, he has yet to find a ninja who can balance Shajur. Such a powerful and uncontrollable person is still in a high position in Konoha, and I don't know if it is the right choice. Time, just in the cooperation, quarrel, reconciliation, understanding, and collaboration of Kinosuke and his party, a week has passed. It's been a week, and you've all grown up a lot. I believe you've all learned a lot. Then, you have to train hard in the future. Do you understand? Shajur looked at the 12 eyes in front of her with incomparable determination, and the little guys who already had cooperation bonds with each other could not help but feel a little emotional. Yes. The 12 Kinosuke thought they would be sad, but when it happened, they found that they would not. Some only have a full sense of harvest, a sense of accomplishment, and a sense of inspiration. This is something they have never experienced before. They never felt that training turned out to be such a comfortable thing. Not only is it fun, but you can also learn a lot of things you've never noticed before. Chapter 650 The Rich Shajur-Ching. Then, let's go. Tonight, we will see you on the second floor. Shajur-Ching said with a smile, and the 12 people immediately called out with joy. But don't mention it, only the rich and powerful Shajur-Ching can do this kind of thing. Who made him rich? With his current worth, he can almost buy Konoha. So Hokage had to feel emotional from time to time, and if he borrowed money from Shajur-Ching, he would sell Konoha to him. And in all this, the happiest one is Shajur-Ching's elder sister, Jasmine. My brother Shajur-Ching is really amazing. This is one of her most frequently spoken words, full of pride. She never thought that one day she would have a younger brother. I would never have thought that my younger brother would be so good at doing business. And it can do such a big business. But Shajur-Ching seems to be doing a trivial little thing and doesn't care. This made Jasmine sigh with emotion. People who do big business really don't care about these small money. Every time Shajur-Ching heard Jasmine teasing her, he just wanted to say, "That's because I've seen a lot of money in another world, so I'm naturally calm." But there was no way he could say these words to Jasmine. Time, like the sand between your fingers, is gone forever. In a blink of an eye, it was the beginning of April in Konoha 56. It has been a year and a half since Shajur-Ching led Kinosuke and other 12 people. It was the turn of spring and summer, the temperature of the sun was just right, and the wind was also a little anxious. If you find a cool place, sit or lie down, take a sip of wine, and read the newspaper, it should be excellent. A certain man named Shajur-Ching would enjoy doing just that. Lying in the shade of a tree in my yard, sipping a little wine and shaking my calves, life is so pleasant. The surroundings are quiet and the atmosphere is relaxed, except for the chirping of VV's birds, or the rustling of grass or leaves. But soon, this quiet atmosphere was interrupted. Mr. Shajur-Ching, it was successful, it was successful. A hurried voice came from outside Shajur-Ching's courtyard. I saw a 13-year-old youth with sharp eyes and firm eyes, rushing in with a look of joy. It's amazing, Mr. Shajur-Ching, we all passed, and our grades are among the best. The young man said this to Shajur-Ching lying on the chair, his face was full of excitement. Hee, I have to thank you for your own efforts. Without your efforts, there would be no achievement today. Shajur-Ching was not surprised and said very calmly. Those geniuses have all been compared by us, Teacher Shajur-Ching, they all said that you can master magic and can transform our aptitude. This young man looked at Shajur-Ching with admiration on his face, his eyes were extremely hot. Shajur-Ching waved his hand and said, I don't have any magic, I just provide you with a way to think. Teach that knowledge to you in a method that is most acceptable to you. It is a blessing for you to realize that it is your blessing. If you do not realize it, you can only say that your skill is not enough. Calm. Okay, Kinosuke, go crazy, you have worked hard for more than a year, now you have the capital to show off. Shajur-Ching waved his hand in a driving tone, quite impatient. Hey, yes, Teacher Shajur-Ching, you still understand us. This young man is Wei Jisuke, and he immediately showed a happy expression when he heard Shajur-Ching's words. Chapter 651 Isn't this normal operation? Have you heard? Kinosuke was a blockbuster, and actually defeated the genius of the Hinata clan. Isn't this a normal operation? You don't think Shajur-Ching's students won the first place? That's right, his classmates can't lift their heads up every year and become the most dazzling existence. I really don't know what kind of magic he has. Obviously, everyone was just a mediocre person in the beginning, but when they got into his hands, they all became geniuses. On this day, Konoha was full of voices of discussion, and there was no lack of envy and exclamation. Walking on the road, each of the 12 Kinosuke felt an unprecedented comfort. This sense of achievement, and the feeling of being amazed, really makes people feel as if they can fly, it's so comfortable. Of course, under the guidance of Shajur-Ching, they have already understood what it means to keep a low profile and keep a low profile. Therefore, even though they achieved impressive results, they never showed the slightest arrogance on their faces, nor did they look down on anyone, being peaceful and modest. Let those who lost to them feel a little better. Naruto Office. It's been a year and a half since I started teaching. What a prodigy. Even if it's a Junin exam, it's too hard to give in, but because of age and qualifications, only the Junin exam can be taken. Even Sarutobi teacher is not so good at teaching. Jiraiya looked at Kinosuke and the others, and once again realized what a genius is. 130 is already very slow, at least for Shajur-Ching, it is slow enough. In 1 year, he handed over the 3 of Yasen's Nobumi, who all possess the same level of strength, but could only be tested by Chunin. And in that Chunin exam, it shines. Neifeng Minato sighed sadly behind him. Shajur-Ching's evildoer has already made him a former genius breathless. Even if he has worked hard enough. It's just that whenever he thought he was about to catch up with Shajur-Ching, Shajur-Ching can always let him know that he is still far away from him. Even if he is open-minded like a wave of wind and water, sometimes he can't help thinking in his heart, since Yu Sheng is born, why Sheng Liang? One era does not need 2 geniuses. In the past year, the ninja world has remained unsettled. It's just me, Konoha, a little calmer. Namikaze Minato looked at the sky in the distance, and there was some emotion in his tired expression. The position of Hokage, only when you really sit on it, will you know how difficult it is. Even a genius is like a wave of wind and water, but he can't help but tremble and walk on thin ice. I am afraid that one mistake of my own will cause irreversible consequences. Yeah, the rest of the 4 major ninja villages are not very peaceful. Jiraiya also knew the meaning of Namikaze Minato's words. The past year and a half. As if the rest of the 4 ninja villages had agreed, various things happened one after another. First, there was a riot in the village of Cheyenne Village, resulting in the death of 18 medical ninjas assisted by Konoha, which had a great impact. Then, Zuli, the 8-tailed man of Union Village, suddenly rioted. Among them, there is the figure of Orochimaru, and Union Village sent people to find trouble in Konoha Village. Then, the genius Jonin of Union Village, Deidara, the strongest explosive ninja, defected. Joining the organization named Shao, who once killed 3 generations of Hokage, Konoha Village sent people to put pressure on Iwayan Village. In the end, Mizuka Gyakura, the 4th generation of Kurikan Village, fell ill and died. Terumi Mei appeared on the stage of the 5 generations of Water Shadows, opened the Foggy Village, traded with the trade port area, and changed the name of the hometown of Blood Fog. Chapter 652 Terumi Mei, what do you want to do? It can be said that in the past year and a half, the workload of Namikaze Minato has doubled. Either you are threatened by a certain ninja village today, or you will condemn a certain ninja village tomorrow, and beware of the rise of some ninja villages. It's not tiring. Fortunately, Shajur-Ching helped to solve the matter of the trade port, which relieved him a lot of pressure. In terms of political and military capabilities, Minato Namaifeng is not inferior to Shajur-Ching. However, when it comes to the economic level, he stops cooking. The same is true for Jirai. When I see economic matters, I get a big head start. In the entire Konoha, the only people with strong economic ability are Danzo and Shajur-Ching. In particular, Shajur-Ching is simply a natural economic expert. In the eyes of Namaifeng Minato, the problem that seemed to be extremely big and completely impossible to start with, in the hands of Shajur-Ching, it was solved at once. Therefore, Namaifeng Minato simply handed over all economic matters to Shajur-Ching. The turmoil is a little turbulent, but at least it is peaceful on the surface, and there is no war. This is the greatest benefit. Absolute peace does not exist, and Jirai also understands this. In this chaotic world, it is almost enough to be able to save yourself alone. In the shade. There are really too many refugees in the land of water. Shajur-Ching looked at the news in his hand, and Vivi couldn't help frowning. I don't know what kind of pillow wind Terumi Mei blew to the name of the country of water, and he kept recruiting civilians. Naturally, as one of the trading ports, the area under the jurisdiction of Shah Jerqing has become one of the gathering places for refugees. But Shah Jerqing couldn't refuse. After all, the population is a valuable asset in this troubled world. However, batches come every 2 or 3 days, which is annoying. But when there are too many refugees, it is easy to cause trouble. The ghost knows how many people with hearts are in there. Terumi May, what are you trying to do? Do you want to take the opportunity to sneak in a spy? Shah Jerqing rubbed his brows, and immediately attributed this matter to Terumi May. After all, in more than a year, he has uncovered several waves of spies from Wuyin village. Terumi may not be the most outstanding among the 5 shadows, but her mind is not inferior to any old fox. After taking charge of Wuyin village for only 1 year, it has already made Wuyin village a lot stronger. Recruit talents, develop the economy, and strengthen the military force. She stumbled as a female figure, stabilized Wuyin village, and changed the impression of Wuyin village's hometown of blood and mist. Today's Wuyin village, after you go there, you will never feel that this is the place that still had the name of hometown of blood mist a year ago. Calm and settle. Even Shah Jerqing has to admit that this woman is very powerful. I don't know if it's because of me. If you don't cut it, you won't defect. The dried persimmon ghost shark has never left, and the loquat Shazang is still alive. There is also a talent in Wuyin village. Shah Jerqing said that, of course, there is a basis for it. Now, there is only a drop of the knife, and the long knife sewing needle has no owner. The other 5 knives already have owners. Moreover, there are also people with weird blood boundaries like Ghost Lantern Shuiyu. The current strength of Wuyin village cannot be underestimated by anyone. After all, the 3 tales of Hidden Mist village did not disappear like in the original book. Chapter 653 Trade Port Area. Oh, forget it, let's take a trip yourself. Who made me not allow others to touch my things? Shah Jerqing got up, packed up the things that were going on a long journey, got the pass from Hokage, and set off towards the land of water. Unlike many ninjas who are afraid of the sea and seasick, Shah Jerqing can be said to be the person in the entire ninja world who is least afraid of the sea and never gets seasick. He was even able to travel all over the world on a boat by himself. What storm, tsunami, seems to be worthless in front of him. This makes Shah Jerqing, who is already strong enough, add a lot of mysterious colors to his body again. In this regard, Shah Jerqing just wanted to say, what is this compared to the devastating weather in the New World? The land of water, Hamishima. Check in, don't get crowded. Go to bathe and change after registering, don't bring germs into the city. After taking a bath, you will receive a sign and you will be given free food. At the same time, someone will give you work guidance, so you don't have to worry about finding your way out of life. When Shah Jerqing arrived here, the work of accepting refugees was proceeding in an orderly manner. Shah Jerqing looked at these people at work, Vivi nodded. He knew that among these refugees, there must be many spies. After all, the novelty of the trade port area, once it came out, caused a huge sensation in the world. It is not known how many countries are ready to follow suit. Therefore, it can be said that there are thousands of manpower sent out in the open and secret, and they all want to learn from the learning experience, and then copy the past. As long as individuals can understand the benefits of commercial ports. Don't you see the country of water, which has been lagging behind before, after establishing a trade port area with the country of fire, the economy has developed rapidly. Otherwise, the name of the land of water will not open up so many trade port areas immediately to attract investment. But as long as the secrets are not involved, some spies Shah Jerqing will turn a blind eye and let them pass the test. It's good to share with everyone. The countless historical facts of Shah Jerqing's previous life have already told him that eating alone will not work. The direction of Shah Jerqing is the location of the management department of the commerce port area. However, along the way, some sights made Vivi frown. But he didn't say anything, but came to the management department of the Tongsheng port area. There are more important things waiting for him to solve. The District Management Department of Tongsheng Port is a management team composed of representatives of various business groups. Here, they are almost the emperors of the earth, who control the life and death of everyone in this trading port area. It can be said that they are absolutely aloof. But at this moment, as soon as they heard that Xia Zhiqing was coming, they all greeted him respectfully, not daring to have the slightest bit of air. "Everyone, stay safe." Xia Zhiqing greeted them very politely, and asked them to quickly say, don't dare, the commander-in-chief is polite. Xia Zhiqing's identity here is naturally not a high-level Konoha village, Konoha Yoran. It is the deputy commander of the guards of the Fire Kingdom who manages these business representatives. Several people took their seats one after another, arranged according to their identities. "Lord Superintendent, it's not a solution for these refugees to always accept it like this. The population density is getting bigger and bigger, and the contradictions are getting bigger and bigger. The plans you made in the past are too tolerant of these refugees. Let them become more courageous and act recklessly to the extent that they have already harmed the interests of the immigrant people of our country of fire. If you don't change, our work will be difficult." From the very beginning, someone poured bitter water on Xia Zhiqing. Chapter 654. It's my wishful thinking. I came here for this matter. The management plan is indeed my wishful thinking, so let's revise it. We must not sacrifice the interests of law-abiding citizens to meet the excessive demands of those people. Xia Zhiqing blushed a little when he heard this, and pretended to say it with a serious face. "Really, you finally agreed, great." Hearing that Xia Zhiqing agreed to the request to amend the regulations, these people immediately stood up excitedly. No wonder they were so excited, it was because they had been troubled by some refugees before. However, they could not be severely punished because of the management bill, but could only sigh and beat their chests, and suffered a lot of criticism. Moreover, after these refugees have done bad things and found that they have not been severely punished, they have become more and more reckless. Their actions naturally brought more refugees to join in. It has seriously affected the order management of this trading port, and harmed the interests of the citizens of the Land of Fire and the local citizens of the Land of Water. There have been many folk voices saying that these refugees will be expelled. Naturally, this caused a lot of contradictions, making the situation in this trade port area even more turbulent. And this has affected the commercial development of this trading port. Many people have come forward to ask them to revise the management bill. But these managers, in awe of Xia Zhiqing's power, how dare they move? So many people have resentment towards Xia Zhiqing. "Tell me about your ideas, the improvement plan, you can all talk about it." Xia Zhiqing asked them to express their opinions. However, after hearing his words, the people he saw showed a trace of embarrassed smiles. Then he said, "Actually, to tell you the truth, before you came, we have already formulated a more complete bill, please take a look." With that said, the person closest to Sha Muyang took out a scroll from his arms and carefully handed it to Sha Muyang. "Look if there is anything else that needs to be revised, if not, we can almost implement the promulgation." This person looked at Xia Zhiqing with an uneasy expression and asked in a low voice. Xia Zhiqing didn't answer him, just looked at the contents on the scroll, frowning from time to time. This scene made these people feel anxious and restless at the same time. Looking at Xia Zhiqing's expression, it seems very difficult for him to agree to this new bill. Of course, if Xia Zhiqing did not agree, they would not dare to mess around. Don't look at the fact that they usually say that Xia Zhiqing is pedantic and young, and they say that they have to persuade Xia Zhiqing to change. But when Xia Zhiqing really appeared in front of them, how could they still have the slightest thought? Absolutely gone. Under Xia Zhiqing's super aura, they only had two words in their hearts: obedience. I dare not have any idea of resistance. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became quiet. the depression was uncomfortable, and I couldn't breathe. Everyone's eyes were looking at Shajur-Ching expectantly. They didn't say let Shajur-Ching agree completely. As long as Shajur-Ching agreed with the above half, they can govern those refugees ruthlessly. After an hour, Shajur-Ching put down the scroll, closed his eyes, and fell into silence. This made the representatives of these various groups even more nervous. They all had an ominous premonition. Chapter 655. They are unkind, and I am unjust. The above bill needs further discussion. After a long time, Shajur-Ching said such a sentence. Alas! When the delegates heard this, all of them couldn't help but turn gloomy, downcast, and very disappointed. When I say what are you missing, I mean the bill is too lenient and needs to be discussed further. Seeing their appearance, Shajur-Ching couldn't help sighing again, but he couldn't help but smile a little bitterly. What? It's too loose. What else is needed? Let's discuss it again. Hearing Shajur-Ching's words, these representatives still didn't react for a while. When they reacted, all of them couldn't help showing ecstasy. Really, that's great. They jumped up with excitement, and they were so happy that they burst into tears. It's hard work. I've taken this for granted and neglected human nature. Shajur-Ching stood up and apologized to them. How dare these people bear it? Quickly retreat. Then, a few people sat down again, and began to manage the bill and began to discuss it. Since I give them face and they don't want it, then don't give it. If they are unkind, I am unjust. Article 1. All people living in the management area are divided into 3 classes, enjoy different treatment, and must not overstep. Among them, all the people from the land of water and the people who immigrated from the land of fire are the first-class people. There are outstanding contributors among the refugees, awarded the second class, with many characters. The rest are the third class, awarded to the Xuanzi congregation. Finally, those with bad temperaments and others will be given the lowest rank, and those with yellow characters will be given the lowest grades. Those who do not make great contributions will not be allowed to upgrade their grades. In addition, all levels are not completely fixed. If the Tianzi group commits a crime, it may also be reduced to the yellow letter group all the way. If the yellow characters make outstanding contributions and have good character, they may be promoted all the way to the heavenly characters. After Shajur-Ching finished speaking, he glanced at everyone, and then said very sternly, this article should be placed in a conspicuous position at the front of the bill, in red and bold. No need to discuss, no public opinion. Enforce it. Everyone, do you have any comments? He looked at the representatives of the major business groups present and asked. No, this is the best way, it will definitely inspire their fighting spirit. These people looked at each other as if they knew Shajur-Ching for the first time, and they all saw shock in each other's eyes. Who said that Shajur-Ching was kind and peaceful, mediocre and incompetent? This is clearly a ruthless man who is decisive and skillful in killing. Treat you well, don't cherish it, well, let's be ruthless, without any hesitation. From him, there is absolutely no trace of the smiling Shajur-Ching that made people feel close to him in the past. And the following revisions made them more fully aware of Shajur-Ching's ruthlessness and clever methods. In terms of punishment, it can be said to be severe, but there is also some human touch. For example, the sentence, in special circumstances, the management team can unanimously determine that the punishment can be reduced as appropriate. But in terms of rewards, they are quite generous, enough to make many people forget the severity of punishment. It wasn't until this moment that they remembered that Shajur-Ching was a murderer without blinking an eye. How could he be gentle? The more revisions to the back, the more smiles on their faces. Chapter 656. Don't give any face. They have almost seen the wailing of the aliens. Their arrogance will definitely be smothered, and they will be honest from now on. Just like the most classic, but also the most ruthless one, the crime of rape shall be punished with a fine, and in addition to flogging, you must wear the moral ring issued. The so-called moral ring is a black collar around the neck, which records the time and name of the criminal. Always remind the criminal himself, or others, that this person has done such a thing. It can be said that it does not give the slightest face at all. Criminals never want to see anyone again. Only outstanding contributions can be taken down, and rich rewards will be given to eliminate names. However, if it is committed again, the moral ring level will increase, and the conditions for taking it down will also be doubled. There are many more regulations like this. After the revision, it is already midnight. But none of these people feel sleepy. There is only excitement. Because, they can already foresee the restoration of order in this trade port area, and those refugees, their happy days are coming to an end. Do you think I'm a little too cruel? Shajirching took a sip of water, looked at these excited people, and asked. Hey, there is indeed a point. The person who handed the scroll earlier, with a guilty conscience, grabbed his head and smiled. Then he added, however, this is more effective. Shajirching nodded, then sighed and said, I thought that my kindness would allow these people to settle down in this trade port area, and then do things honestly, everyone, and live a peaceful life. But, having said this, Shajirching's tone suddenly became cold. The temperature in the whole house dropped a lot all of a sudden, which made these people shudder. Not everyone is so conscious, but they think I'm a bully, relying on loopholes in the law to act recklessly. Running domineering, bullying the market, bullying men and women, everything you see is a rebellion of refugees, and the good people have suffered for a long time. My hard work has been messed up. Since they don't give face, don't blame me for not giving face. Print and distribute the bill as soon as possible, and it will be publicized within 2 days to collect public opinion. If there is little objection, it will be implemented immediately. At the same time, all criminal case files will be reviewed for judgment. It's time for a bolt from the blue in this day in Hamashima. Otherwise, it is not enough to deter Xiao Xiao, and it is not enough to convince the quartet. The normal market order requires not only bills, but also powerful means of thunder. If there is a big objection, the case files of these crimes will be printed out. Let everyone see clearly what the meaning of this bill is. Whose interests are being protected. After these remarks, the murderous intent was awe-inspiring, the blood of these people was boiling, their faces were flushed, and they were extremely excited. Yes. They left, each one seemed to have lost more than 10 kilograms, and the wind was blowing under their feet. Such a little girl, you can also go down and be violent. An LT, P and GT. So lonely grandma, you have the heart to hurt. With such a good market order, you want to disrupt the collection of protection fees, do you really take my kindness as weakness? Since you didn't pay attention to me, let you all pay attention to me this time. Shajirching looked at the night sky in the distance, his eyes narrowed, and there was a sharp light inside. This time, Shajirching was really angry. He originally thought that it was just a lot of refugees, which slightly affected the order here. But I didn't expect it to be so serious. Where he visited unannounced, every step of the way was startling. Chapter 657 Revenge. What happened? However, there must be someone behind the scenes, otherwise, the refugees alone would not be able to become such a big climate. Who is it? Don't let me know who it is. Otherwise, I will let you understand the consequences of provoking me. Shajirching most hope that no one is behind this. Of course, if someone instructs him, he will have no choice but to retaliate. Shajirching has never been a loser. Another place not far from this commercial port area. Sir, do you really want to keep doing this? That's the Thunder Ninja Shajirching, who kills without blinking an eye. If we let him know that we are behind the scenes, he will not let us go. A man who looked like a servant said to the old man in Chinese clothes sitting on the futon. HMPH, he has encroached on so many of my interests, shouldn't I be allowed to fight back? He is so stupid. Since he must treat the refugees like relatives, how can I waste a piece of his kindness? Isn't it good to sit and watch him lose money? Even the people are struggling and resentment overflowing. He has caused so much damage to our country of water, you don't see the name of the country of water. Do you think I did a good job? I have a big name to protect me. I'm afraid of what he will do. Could it be that he can rush to the door and teach me a lesson? HMPH, he wouldn't dare even if I borrowed 10 courage from him. The old man in Chinese clothes snorted coldly, and his face was full of arrogance and contempt. That's right, the villain is short-sighted. This time, the person quickly nodded and admitted his mistake, and then backed out. HMPH, the sovereignty of our country of water has been turbulent, and they have been humiliated as a semi-colonial. What's wrong with taking revenge on you? In addition, you are still such a virgin, and I feel sorry for your kindness if I don't make you do it. Hum, I want to see how long your trading port can last. The sinister issue of the old man in Chinese clothes. Those refugees already occupy 4/5 of the total population. The natives of the land of water, as well as the people of the land of fire you emigrated, are completely at a disadvantage. When they are also completely disappointed in you, your trading port can be closed, and at the same time, your reputation will be completely wiped out. Of course, if you can make up your mind and disregard the name of mercy, you can fix them. But in that case, it will inevitably cause a lot of dissatisfaction, and then there will really be a good show to watch. I'm looking forward to whether you can withstand the danger of being beaten by chickens and eggs and ruin your reputation and rectify the order. Hamishima. The next day, millions of people living on this place were suddenly gathered on the major squares. Then, I heard the content of the management bill after the reform. Many people were immediately excited, and even burst into tears. They suddenly had a sense of relief that the haze over their heads had been swept away. But of course there are also objections. The objection is nothing more than too harsh, inhumane, and will lead to contradictions. Some people even clamored that this bill will not let people live, and it is obvious that it will force people to rebel. Those who said this were instantly captured and imprisoned. Then, all those who objected were given a piece of paper and a pen, allowing them to write down the reasons for their objection, as well as their suggestions, and sign them. If the signature is wrong, the opinion is invalid. Finally, after these opinions were accepted, they were told, everyone who raises objections must be responsible for their own words, and if it is found that the person has committed a crime, the crime will be added. Chapter 658 I am an executioner. Immediately, many people directly changed their minds and agreed to the implementation of the bill. But there are also people who see that something is wrong and want to escape from Hamishima and get away with impunity. But all the exits have already been blocked by Shajirqing. Everyone can't get out. At this point, if there are still people who have not responded that something is wrong, then it is really a waste of life. In the end, after 5 days of public opinion collection, the bill was approved by 1.21 million people and passed. Once the bill was passed, all kinds of people who had committed crimes suddenly became restless. They all clamored, without the consent of Shajirqing, they can't touch them. Saying that this is a bill that has not been approved by Shajirqing cannot be counted. They were lucky and felt that this was definitely not what Shajirqing meant. How could Shajirqing treat them like this? Shajirqing is so easy to bully. As long as the time comes to intercede with Shajirqing, the wicked will sue first. With Shajirqing's benevolent and generous character, and because he didn't understand the situation when he first arrived, he would definitely ask for a postponement. In this way, they have enough time to operate, and when the time comes, they can say that the white is also black. But unfortunately, this time their wishful thinking will come to nothing. Not long after they thought about it, Shajirqing responded directly to them, "You don't need to look for him. This management bill was authorized to be revised by him. If you have any questions, you can ask him to respond. But the implementation of the bill cannot be delayed, and no one should use any excuse to hinder the promulgation of the bill." Shajirqing's appearance made all the interested people suddenly have no excuses. They are resentful, angry. Therefore, Shajirqing was called the most ignorant manager of all time by these angry and resentful people. Those good reputations accumulated before have all been destroyed. But Shajirqing didn't care. Is he a benevolent man? No. Does he care about his reputation? Not give a damn about. As long as he doesn't steal or rob, or commit adultery or prostitution, whatever others say. He goes his way, let others say go. Of course, if someone deliberately slandered him, don't blame him for being rude. For a long time, his reputation for being kind and peaceful has made many people forget that he is a executioner, ninja who kills without blinking an eye. Will his heart be kind? Bullshit, isn't it? Under Shajirqing's terrifying reputation, there are also means prepared in advance, and those who want to do things have no chance. The Second Generation Management Act was successfully promulgated and implemented. Since the promulgation and implementation of the new Management Act, the order of the entire trade port area has suddenly become much better. Those refugees suddenly became very well behaved. For fear that someone would make trouble for them, they were so afraid. The local people all applauded. Shajirqing's second-generation bill came at such a good time. Just solved their biggest difficulty. The miserable people who were bullied by those refugees finally had a feeling of turning over and being the master. They finally felt that the owner of this commercial port was them. Not those refugees. Before, these refugees were like parasites on this trading port. Relying on the benefits given by the act, they are arrogant and domineering and bully the market. Let them, locals are about to die. Well now, Shajirqing finally heard their intentions, and as soon as he made a move, it was a thunder crit. Take these arrogant refugees and rectify them all at once. Chapter 659. Where is the mercy? Watching those evil gangs who shouted, "This is the first time for me, let me go, I know I was wrong, I will definitely try to correct it, I will never dare again," and other words were beheaded. The whole business, the people in the port area are all excited. No one will pity them. If I knew today, why was it in the first place? When they did evil in the first place, they had thought about what would happen today. The bloody case has deterred more people with dissent, and the atmosphere of the entire trade port area is very solemn. The chaotic and desperate atmosphere before has become clear and peaceful. Management. Lord Shajirqing, you are really amazing. Now everyone is praising you for being a big blue sky. All the representatives touted Shajirqing, their faces were full of admiration. Okay, you know I don't do this. Besides, this matter was originally my fault, and I have the obligation and responsibility to handle this matter well. Shajirqing waved his hand, indicating that these people don't need to be so kind. He believed that any one of them could do it. Even, they can do better. It's just that he doesn't necessarily have the strong determination and confidence of Shajirqing. Besides, his intention to call these people here today was not to listen to them boasting about himself. Okay, this thing is over. Let's talk about the next thing. Shajirqing said, his expression suddenly became extremely serious, and said, I understand your thoughts and feelings about the rapid development of the trade port area. First of all, praise, these representatives can't help but sink in their hearts. They are all human beings, and they all understand what awaits them next. Want to suppress first. Come to think of it, the next thing waiting for them is Shajirqing's problem. They couldn't help sitting up straight, and their breathing suddenly slowed down a lot. Development can be done, but environmental safety must also be taken into account, but I only see development in you, and I don't see the slightest idea of taking care of the environment. Why, you guys forgot my philosophy so quickly. When it came to this, Shajirqing was already full of gloomy expressions, and a chilling murderous intent swept across their necks, causing them to shudder. Gollum. Hearing Shajirqing's words, these people seemed to have been suddenly poured into a basin of icy cold water in June, and their bodies were extremely cold. Cold sweat, wet all over the body at once. I want both gold and silver mountains, but also clear water and green mountains. I think it should be forgotten so soon. Shajirqing glanced at them gloomily, but why do I see serious pollution, vegetation being destroyed, fertile fields being engulfed by seawater, etc., which should not occur? I still remember that I set up funds for this. In theory, these things would not have happened, but now they are, so that means the money is gone. A smile suddenly appeared at the corner of Shajirqing's mouth, but these people were so frightened that they almost knelt on the ground, their teeth chattering. Can I doubt that you have embezzled the money? These words are light and without any emotion. But the murderous intent contained in it can be heard by anyone. As we all know, Shajirqing has a smile on the corner of his mouth, which means that he has murderous intentions, or he is very satisfied. And now, apparently not satisfied. Chapter 660. You are so timely. Shajirqing's current aura is so powerful that these people can't even speak clearly. The more they can't explain clearly, the more panic they are, the more panic they get, the colder they sweat. The more I sweat, the less energy I have to speak. If you don't have the strength to speak, the more you can't speak. Such a cycle simply makes them feel hopeless and want to die. Shajirqing spoke at this time, interrupting their thoughts. Give you a week to restore funds. In a month, I want to see the results. If not, then go talk to the Kono of the Kingdom of Fire. Shajirqing's unquestionable voice made them all feel like they were being forgiven. They hurriedly kowtowed and assured, it must be sure. Shajirqing waved his hand, indicating that they can leave. They immediately fled the scene as if they were crawling. Shajirqing walked out of the management department. On the street. Lord Shajirqing is mighty. Lord Shajirqing, you are really great. This bill was promulgated too timely. That's what I want. Otherwise, those people always think they are guests and can go wild. After Shajirqing appeared on the street, he immediately received a lot of praise. Hearing what they said, Shajirqing Vivi nodded, but blushed a little, and walked all the way through. Of course, not everyone welcomed Shajirqing. There are complex expressions and resentment. But no one dared to be presumptuous in front of Shajirqing. This time, after Shajirqing has strengthened the management of household registration, he will be punished terribly if he wants to be presumptuous. That kind of punishment is enough to deter people. Shajirqing, you bastard, why are you doing this to us? Isn't it just hiring some people to collect some protection fees? As for the heavy sentence, is it 20 years in prison? Damn, I don't accept it. When did I commit such a big crime? You are taking personal revenge, I don't accept it. Ah, Shajirqing, you have to die. Words like this are constantly coming out from the mouths of various judgments. In the entire management area, there are servants who take people. Those who have committed crimes, all of them are in a state of fear all day long, and they all have their tails tucked in their heads. One by one is terrifying. There are those who want to abscond, those who can't stand the pressure and surrender themselves to reduce their punishment, and those who resist and die. In the entire management area, tranquility and turmoil coexist. You can see all kinds of samurai everywhere, soldiers on duty. Under the deployment of Shajirqing, it was orderly. This rectification campaign, which lasted for a week, is basically over. Under the leadership of Shajirqing, no one dared to mess around. And those places with problems have also begun to step into the track of correction. In particular, environmental problems are rapidly entering the process of improvement. But those who are dissatisfied are even more dissatisfied. But under the shock of Shajirqing, no one dared to move. Moreover, under the continuous pressure of Shajirqing, these people's life is getting worse and worse. They can't help but start planning their way back. After all, if it goes on like this, they really have no way out. It was at this time that their people suddenly brought a piece of news that was very interesting to them. Wealthy Port, the land of water, is vigorously recruiting new talents. As long as you pay 100,000 yen, you can get all kinds of easy and high-paying jobs. And become all kinds of talents, respected, status, beauty all have. Moreover, it seems to know that some people will not believe it.